finding a point of personal connection to consumers. So brands always come to us and, they know themselves inside out, but they don't really know their consumers. So we really like to, Stiletto Collective, you're going to hear some puns, but really put ourselves in our potential audience's shoes and empathize with their mindset.
Welcome to Unexpected Journey, the show where each week top professionals share work wisdom and life lessons about their careers and what they have learned about human experience in the workplace. I'm your host, Ann Bibb. Today we are joined by Lee Tran, the founder of Stiletto Collective, a minority woman-owned business and creative media cooperative. With her collective, Lee helps brands of all sizes elevate their authenticity, story, and creativity through media and data. With over 25 years of experience in the advertising industry, Lee has been recognized by Ad Age's Women to Watch, Campaign US's Digital 40 Over 40, and has spoken at numerous conferences, including CES, South by Southwest, and more. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments below. Now let's get started. Welcome, Lee. It's so glad to finally have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Ann.
I would love to hear about your background and how you got here from the marketing industry and starting the Stiletto Collective.
Yeah, that's a long story, but
it's a long story, but it's a good story, you know?
Yeah. I first generation Vietnamese. So there was a lot of expectations on what I should be when I grow up. But I don't know if I was born to be a contrarian. I'm the second of 5, and my older sister did everything that was expected. She was studious, and she became a PhD pediatrician. She celebrated in her field, and that just wasn't me. I wasn't going to be a lawyer or a pharmacist or a doctor. I always felt a creative bent, and I always loved how presidents or actors could communicate and the power of communication. So, and I felt that early on. I think I remember watching news and seeing Connie Chung and even entertainment sitcoms and trying to understand what advertising was in some of these sitcoms. But really, it started there where I sort of knew what I wanted to do. And at that time, I knew I was going to be in communications. There was no internet. I went to the public library, asked to be taken there, and started looking into schools outside of Texas. I'm from Texas, that had communications as a strong offering, and wound up in Boston at Emerson College. Decided to get an ad degree. Got the ad degree, started my career. So I'm one of those rare people that knew kind of what they wanted to do, studied it, and still doing it.
That is so rare. So many people I talk to, they're like, I wanted to be a fairy, or I wanted to be a veterinarian, or, and it's just like they got here by mistake, or because they fell in love with something else along the way. So you are a unicorn in that you knew what you wanted to do and to be so young and still managed to follow that same path and that same journey. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And I like that I knew where I wanted to go, but just to kind of balance it out, I over my career, I have celebrated people who are the exact opposite. So in the ad agency business, which I really love, I feel like where you get the most, well, not always, but where you see a lot of innovation are people that aren't even in the business. So it's like the dichotomy of, I really knew what I wanted to do. I studied it. I feel like I'm good at it. And then there is this other side of it where people don't even have that degree. One person who I work with, was a molecular biology degree major, but is in the ad business, doing nothing related to his degree, but really successful in the ad business. So I celebrate both sides of the coin.
So You've mentioned a few things here. Why don't we just kind of help everybody understand what is Stiletto Collective? What services do you provide to clients?
Yeah, so Stiletto Collective, we're a year and a half old. So I'd like to say it's a startup business still, but we've grown pretty fast, all through referral. And Stiletto Collective were two choice words combined. I knew I wanted to do my own thing. So it's a celebration of women owned. But collective is over the years of being in the business, 25 plus years, I really have met a lot of great talent. And so the idea is that the collective is a curation of that talent. So we're kind of like the WeWork of ad agencies, where we have on-demand teams for clients. So when people ask, what do we do? Well, we do anything that you need us to do, because we will take that challenge and assemble a on-demand team of talent that the prerequisite is that we would have had to work with you in the past. So there is that, where our clients know that if you're coming to the leadership team and you're working with us, and we've vetted and worked with other talent in our collective, then you have a great team. Versus what's flawed about the ad business is there's a lot of freelancers, and some of them, agencies don't even work with. So it's a little bit of a gamble. So Stiletto Collective essentially is an on-demand ad agency.
From that standpoint, can you give us some examples of some successful campaigns or projects that Stiletto Collective has worked on in the past?
Yeah. One that is kind of timely to the inception of Stiletto is actually a company based in Australia. It's Elume Health, but it basically came to the States during COVID, and they basically create these at-home tests. So they have different things, and they've done like pregnancy tests, but for COVID, they were one of the brands, which many people can't name a brand, but they were one of the brands in the home COVID test category. So for me, what is special about that is it, as an advertising person, marketing person, is giving the opportunity to help market a product that didn't exist before in a category that didn't exist before at a high velocity speed. And then really the other purpose is really helping out during a pandemic. So it's a product or service that actually was useful for the consumers. And it wasn't that we were just trying to sell something to sell something. It had purpose. So what was nice about that is working with the client, where as a collective, they basically, it's a new category, new product. It was a learning for everybody, consumers, the brand, a company. And so with the collective, they were able to kind of come to us and say, we have this problem first. We know that there's all this other stuff later. Most agencies want to tackle everything and have a nice retainer and work it that way. But they came and said, we basically just need more awareness. So can you help us find the right partnerships and help sell in the right partnerships? So as a collective, we basically said, yes, we can. And one of the first projects that we worked on, which was just a project, was Merck was coming up with the COVID pill. So we basically figured out a good partnership and put together the marketing pieces that allowed Elume to basically say to Merck, we should kind of do some co-branded work together in retail stores, online, to help consumers understand what they need to do if they feel like they are exposed to COVID, and how to basically help prevent spreading it. So that was, a big brand with Merck, a new brand coming from Australia to America, and just being part of these, partnership, collaboration moments. And so as a collective, we kind of came in sort of like a SWAT team, helped them create the narrative, helped them determine what the cost parameters should be for the partnership. And then from there, it was, okay, we could help with business structure. What about just now direct to consumer? So then creating kind of that pathway for the brand to enter in a new market, understand the market, understand who to sell to. So then it became a larger discussion on, classic marketing. Who do we need to talk to? There are all these players in the space. The US government's giving them away for free. So just creating those differentiating points. And, it's not a sexy client, like Coke, but for me, it was indicative of the clients that we want. Clients with purpose, clients where we were seen as business partners to help their business, not just creating ads, and helping kind of tell that story to the right consumers. So new category, new product.
So in this type of a situation, or really with any of your clients, right? How do you approach finding that brand's voice and then developing a cohesive message across so many different platforms? Because there are so many different ways to get that message out today. Either there's TikTok, there's television, there's movie cinemas, there's print. I mean, you've got so many different ways that you need to get that message out to consumers now.
Yeah. So we have an approach. We believe in a brand story. We believe that you have to know the end at the beginning. So you have to kind of know what the end page is in your book
before you read the last page first.
Yes. Yes. So know the end at the beginning. So we really try to work with the clients to get there first. A lot of people just come with what they feel is like, this is what I need. Help me get there. You're like, no, that's not really what you need. So that's sort of the first principle. Then it's essentially finding a point of personal connection to consumers. So brands always come to us and, they know themselves inside out, but they don't really know their consumers. So we really like to, Stiletto Collective, you're going to hear some puns, but really put ourselves in our potential audience's shoes and empathize with their mindset. What would trigger them to even connect with us within a story? So we try to find that point of personal connection. But a good brand doesn't just sell to a consumer. It's part of a culture. It's part of the fabric of a community. So from there, where I feel like we try to help brands elevate is we then look at, what does the brand offer that elevates to a more universal connection? So, with eLume as like one example, the simplest way to talk about it is the point of personal connection is you don't want to have to go to the doctor. You were kind of at home. So what is the easiest solution to find out if you're healthy or not? If you're healthy, you don't want to spread it, family and friends, coworkers. So it's as simple as, will I test positive? The universal connection is really more of how do we bring healthcare to consumers' fingertips? So it's kind of looking at the bigger picture of a brand. And of course, the bottom line in sales, but know the end at the beginning. I think a brand's mission is really clear for companies, but when they try to execute it through advertising and marketing, it gets lost. So the point of personal connection and empathizing with a consumer, that's classic marketing. It's our spin on it. But what we always try to do is bring it back to elevation, which is finding, again, that universal connection, because we're all in it together. And we're all in it to, again, help a community, help a society, put a stamp on culture. So that's the overall approach.
I'm curious. You mentioned the impact of being an Asian American and business owner. Could you share some of the specific challenges that you've faced and how you overcame them?
Yeah, I was, this month is Asian American, Pacific Islander heritage, and there's a lot more in there today. But so I was listening to somebody talk at a conference, and he is in the business of advertising. And he was telling his story that he walked into a meeting, an advertising meeting, and instantly, the potential client, the client was basically like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and made the assumption he was the analytics guy. And basically he's like, "No, I'm the creative guy. I was always bad at math, creative guy." And he was expressing like that was classic stereotype in the businesses that, the Asians in the businesses, they're just the data scientists. They're just the number crunchers. And another person was talking about she was in a high, finance position, and she was in a room and was asked to go get coffee because they just assumed that being minority and female in this room meant that she was an executive assistant.
The unconscious bias snuck up in that room.
Yes, a lot. And, I think growing up in this business and experiencing a lot of those, for the most part, I felt like I had just accepted it and kind of, oh, that's just the way it is, mentality. And how that has impacted me is, I think I just basically try to bury it. Like this is just what society is. Just kind of like have to do a power move and move on from it. And
is that how you are handling it, or how you feel like you have to handle it?
That's how I used to handle it.
That's how you used to handle it, but it's not how you're handling it now.
No, I'm not handling it that way now. And so I really, for me, it's in moments like that, really kind of addressing it in a very kind of frank, polite, gracious way, but not letting it kind of glide and not trying to create confrontation. So, which is, it's hard to do, but if it's addressed, it kind of just perpetuates, so difficult topic, I think, but it makes some people uncomfortable, to be, honest.
It makes you uncomfortable too.
It definitely does. Even the question still of, where are you from? Sometimes I get angst when someone asks me that in a business situation.
You're like, I'm from Austin, Texas. Where are you from?
What are you asking exactly? And it's always really interesting when I answer it that way. Like, oh, I'm from Houston, Texas, but I currently live in Austin. But to talk about being a Texan, really. And
right.
Then,
but do you actually respond and say, where are you from as well?
No, I basically, what's always interesting is usually the next thing that is said is like, no, I meant like, what is your background? And, it's not a very common thing to ask people when you.
I'm curious what would happen if you turned around and said the same thing. I'm a Texan. What is your background?
Saying, hey, my name is Lee Tran. Tran is a very common Vietnamese last name, just like, Smith, Jones is, and just trying to teach that culture of, hey, I'm Vietnamese, and Tran, if you ever see that, is an indicator of that if you just wanted to know and be educated about it. But no, yes, I'm from Texas.
That's very kind of you to educate them on the, on your last name and what that might mean if they see it again. Little doses
of education.
Along those lines, how can other businesses better support and uplift minority-owned businesses in their communities?
I definitely think it's about little doses of education. Obviously being a patron, buying that way, understanding kind of the ownership when you walk into a local mom and pop. The funny thing is, people like talk about, oh, like this, what you think is a business that would be owned by a certain ethnicity is really not owned by it. So there could be an Asian restaurant as an example, but it's really not owned by an Asian family or, an Asian company.
A Tex-Mex restaurant that is not owned by.
Exactly. So I think it's just kind of doing your homework. If you really want to support it, just, supporting that small business owner who doesn't always have the means, getting the small business loans that other people can. So just being aware and being a patron of the right businesses.
What about how do organizations find those minority-owned businesses such as Stiletto to be able to support them? And I'm not talking about the restaurants and the mom and pop shops. I'm talking about ad agencies and other types of businesses that the larger businesses use as vendors.
A lot of states have this, but Texas has basically a SEBITA, depending on the city that you live in, they call it SEBITA or hub. But if you are a minority-owned business and you're certified, you're automatically added to a database. And you can just go on to this free website that states usually have, or cities, and look for it. So it's that simple, just going to it, and it's nice to be certified, right? Because you can make all the claims that you want. So it is a process. I went through it. It's government. It's a bit rigorous. They do in-person interviews even during COVID. So that's a starting point. But I also feel like it's just, we're in a high tech where everything's at your fingertips. Just do a search. Be conscious of what you're looking for. And if you really want to help support, then just do a search and try to validate it yourself.
Yeah. So one of the other things that starting your own business has, I know for myself, several other individuals has been interesting, is the impact of friendships. Hey, can you do this? Hey, can you do that? You know what? Can you do it for free? How do you balance personal and professional relationships when you're starting a business?
Yeah. So, this. I don't know that I have.
I might know this, which it might be why there's a question here.
I don't know if I have all the answers, and I feel like Chief and our core has helped me navigate some of it. And I hate that I think about Rockefeller and a billionaire, but always knowing that I wanted to open my own company. I think that I'm an entrepreneur by heart, but I think he had like a line that was something like, friendships founded on business is better than a business founded on friendships. And it was one of those where I'm like, wait, like, what is he trying to say? Like, which is better? Like, wait. And I feel like it's the chicken or egg thing where a lot of Stiletto's current business has been through referrals, and it's referrals through old colleagues that became friends, or old clients that have become friends. And I think that's a testament to my reputation, but it also creates a dynamic where when things maybe aren't perfect, navigating that is tricky. And I think I go back to the Rockefeller in that quote, because when you do business with family or friends, family and friends, it's organic. Family is, something you don't get to choose. Friendships are organic. But in both situations, like, you would never want to hurt anybody. They're your friends and your family. But when you meet people in business that become your friends, I think the first expectation is that we're going to disagree, and we're going to fight for our ideas, and we're going to fight for budgets, and we're going to, we're competitors. And so there, usually in business, there is a, upfront friction that you work with that is a choice that you chose to do. So the friendships that happen through business, I think, can be sometimes stronger than your organic friendships and, your family. But And that's what made me realize that, working with a friend, working with my significant others, when there are problems, it's okay to kind of be very transparent and kind of have a difficult conversation that in the end isn't that difficult, because we had been through a lot of other difficult things before with clients and work situations.
So Lee, why would anyone want to get in touch with you, and how would they get in touch with you?
Reputation is why you would. And proving out the model of the collective in a business where everyone's still fighting for retainers. And you kind of, you're sold a leadership team, but in the end, you might get like a B team, or people they just hired to fulfill a role. So why you should think of a collective and that idea of an on-demand team is it's about reputation. It's about the work that you do, your past work, your past relationships. And we've only grown that way. But if you're a person out there looking for somebody new and want to take a leap of faith, you can basically go to stilettocollective.com or lee@stilettocollective.com. And stiletto can be misspelled all the time. So just make sure you...
Those links are below, guys. You'll see those links below. So hopefully you'll see it and you won't misspell it.
But yes, and there is another Stiletto Collective out there that is very fun. I think that it's a certain type of business, and it's on Facebook. So that's just recognize that that's not our Stiletto Collective.
That is good feedback. You are the ad agency, not the fun one.
Not the fun one. Hey, we have fun.
We have fun, but a very ad marketing kind of fun.
Yeah. Not that kind of madman fun. Madman fun.
Got it. Lee, thank you so much for joining us this week. Really appreciate you and always enjoy our time together.
Same.
And everybody else, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again next week. As we wrap the episode up, we would like to take this time to thank you for joining us this week on Unexpected Journey. Our guest information will be linked in the episode description, along with a link to our company website, remoteevolution.com, and our host website, annbib.com. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on your favorite podcast app and on our YouTube channel so that you never miss an episode and we can continue to bring them to you. Let us know your thoughts on what we discussed in the comment section. And once again, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again next week for another episode of Unexpected Journey.